the biggest mistake that a lot of companies make is when they start to trade in that, hey, we're going to stop caring about the people so much and start caring more about the money aspect, right? And I think that's where everything begins to go south. And that's going to be true to any business.
Absolutely.
And you see that really right now in the trade with private equity, right? They come in, they're going to hold this thing for 2 years, and all their objective is drive the numbers. Yeah. And you start getting people jumping ship, you start losing customers because it's like, man, this is not what we signed up for 3 years ago when we signed a service maintenance contract,
right.
you know?
This episode of Behind the Mindset is brought to you by We Supply Trades. For more info, visit wesupplytrades.com.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Mindset. Today, I am actually in an undisclosed location in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we are at the HVAC Nationals, and I am blessed to be here with the legendary Angie Snow.
Wow, legendary.
Legendary,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Your name is thrown around the industry pretty respectfully. So,
well, thank you. It is so fun to be here, and what a cool, exciting time for us to be here in West Palm Beach.
yeah, it's definitely humid here.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's freezing inside.
I
So
know.
pick your poison, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
but I like
exactly.
the lighting out here, and it's a little bit warmer, so I'm okay.
Yeah,
So-
for sure, for sure.
So I'm intrigued to know a little bit more about your past, because I think kind of you being in the industry here, like everybody knows, Angie's with Service Titan, right?
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, who was the Angie before Service Titan?
Where did Angie come from, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I never really grew up thinking I'm going to have a job in the trades. That wasn't my goal as a child. I wanted to be a school teacher. And so I grew up, I went to school, got my degree, and I taught school for 7 years. My husband was in HVAC, and he actually was running a company out in California. I was there just to be a mom, enjoying my time with my 3 little kids, and he said, you know what, I think we should do this. This was his dream, to go and own his own HVAC company. So he asked if I'd jump into business with him. I said yes. We bought a little business. We had 4 technicians, and he and I were running it out of our home. And then I just thought I was going to be kind of his sidekick and helping him get this off. But what I ended up loving about the trades is I started learning how to really get into business, grow a business. I learned about the marketing, the accounting, the customer experience side of everything, and I really kind of fell in love with the industry. So
This was in California.
we moved back to Utah to buy the business.
Okay.
Yes. So we still have our company there, Western Heating and Air and Plumbing. So bought that in 2007. So 18 years now we've had the business.
How many technicians you have
grown
now?
it. I think we probably have about 50, 60 people on staff total.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Since I've been a Service Titan, he's still kind of running the day-to-day, and I've taken on a new role there, but really just kind of fell in love with the trades, and haven't gone really back to school teaching, but now my role as Service Titan, I help teach other contractors.
So you're still teaching,
I'm
just
still
not
teaching,
children.
just in a new role.
Maybe
yeah.
they are children.
Yeah. A different kind of role.
Yeah.
So it's been
Children
a lot
with
of fun.
tool belts.
I know, right?
So going from teaching to running a company with the husband to stepping into Service Titan, what did that, like what
prompted that?
yeah, what
big
prompted that
change?
decision to go, hey, I want to step away
Yeah.
from the contracting company and help more with this Service Titan thing?
Yeah, well, as we started to grow our business, like most companies, we had a few big hurdles to cross. We bought the company right before the recession of 2008, so we had some big holes that we were trying to fill, but we got coaches. I joined best practice groups. I really went into the mindset of, I need help to grow this business. I need help to get out of debt.
Sure.
And so I found people who knew what they were doing. I found mentors, and they really helped me. They were such a key point for us being as successful as we were, to the point where we would have other contractors come and reach out to us and say, hey, can you help us with this? And I love doing that. And I was like, gosh, this is really I feel like I'm back in a teaching role.
Sure.
Helping other contractors. And so in 2016, I lost a dear friend who was one of my college friends. She was a mom. We'd raised our kids together. She passed away due to the effects of postpartum depression. And at that point, it was kind of a pivotal point for me because I thought, oh my gosh, here is someone my age, you know, we've kind of followed the same path, but I'm still alive. Like, what can I do to give back and contribute and do more? Like, how can I still make an impact while I'm still here? And so I started getting really intentional with getting more classes on how to become a better trainer, a better speaker, a better coach, so that if people were coming to me, I was prepared, I had skills, and I could do that in a more impactful way. So I got really serious about my own professional and personal development at that point. Started my own snow business coaching with my husband. We were coaching couples in business and having a lot of fun doing that. In 2018, we purchased Service Titan for our company, and we started using it. And now that we had the data, access to the data, we were like, whoa, that is when our business really started to take off. And so we started getting more involved with Service Titan. And they reached out in 2020 during the pandemic and asked if I'd help them with some best practices and help them coach and help some of these smaller contractors. So it was kind of a progression that just, it came due to circumstances and just wanting to be a platform where I could help more contractors.
Yeah, and 5 years later.
5 years later,
here
we are. Yeah. Yes.
So obviously this whole HVAC Nationals is the biggest sponsor that they have, right? Title sponsor is Service Titan. So I'm assuming that played a role in segueing you into becoming a judge and stuff like that?
Yeah. My role at Service Titan now is an industry advisor. I had a couple different roles as I started at Service Titan. I was the director of the training team for a little bit, which was fun. We really worked on developing some better systems and processes there, but I missed being one-on-one with the contractors and one-on-one with the technicians and being, you know, these are my people and I loved them. And so to be able to be part of this was something that I couldn't turn down. And I said, yes, let me come out here. So
that's really cool.
Even though my technical knowledge is not up to, you know, what I would hope to have, and I really focused on the business side. The people that run this competition make it really easy so that as industry advisors, we can come out, we've got our judging sheets, we know exactly what we're looking for, and it's a really cool competition.
Well, it's refreshing to hear that you like to keep the customers or the clients or the contractors, if you will, right, up front and center. I think the biggest mistake that a lot of companies make is when they start to trade in that, hey, we're going to stop caring about the people so much and start caring more about the money aspect, right? And I think that's where everything begins to go south. And that's going to be true to any business.
Absolutely.
And you see that really right now in the trade with private equity, right? They come in, they're going to hold this thing for 2 years, and all their objective is drive the numbers. And you start getting people jumping ship, you start losing customers because it's like, man, this is not what we signed up for 3 years ago when we signed a service maintenance contract, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I think in that aspect, they're really ruining the industry, right? I definitely don't have a love relationship with private equity in our industry for sure, but I think it's teaching the rest of us a lot of valuable lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
That while making money is important, right, being profitable is important, that you can't trade in what's really important. That's the contractors and the end user, which is the customer.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I think what we see in a lot of private equity companies is that transactional focus. As you know, that's kind of how they're wired. They like to see the money, they like the numbers. This is an investment for them, right? Ultimately, it's an investment where I think a lot of us as contractors, including myself, when I went into business, it was not to make a ton of money, it was to build relationships. And that's really how I built my business, was making relationships with our customers, relationships with my employees and their family, relationships with the community. Who can we partner with to really help us get the word out? But even more than that, you're providing a service that is helping people stay comfortable in their homes.
Absolutely.
And so once you've done a great job of establishing yourself as a trusted company and you've got these great relationships, that's the foundation. And I fear that's what starts to fade away when some of the private equity groups do get involved a bit.
Yeah. Plus, these are people who don't know anything about HVAC, right? They're business guys.
They're business people.
And they're number people.
Yeah.
And their objective is to drive the numbers. So, I have a real issue with that, but you know, it is what it is.
Fair enough.
At some point, maybe we'll be able to collectively, as contractors, right, band together and become our own private equity.
Our own
yeah,
private
and
equity
start
group.
really trying
Yeah.
to run these companies the way that they should be run. You know.
Yeah,
So.
I think it leaves room. I think there's opportunity for the companies that have not sold out to private equity to stand out and be
Sure.
different because of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hurting the industry, but helping
Right.
the
It's-
smaller mom and pop shops.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a cycle of that, kind of like we did back in the 90s when a lot of these companies were consolidated up into P groups as
Yeah.
well.
I mean,
So-
we're seeing a lot of, even on the OEM side of things, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Lennox is in the process of buying Supco and Trade Fox.
Yep.
Malco just bought Vito. There was another acquisition that just took place. I'm trying to remember who, but it's happening all
It's
the
happening,
time,
yeah.
right? And you see these, Santa Fe and April Air, right? And so it's
yeah.
kind of like, man, these monopolies, they're just like, it's happening right before our eyes, but it's kind of behind closed doors. You don't really hear much about it. It's like a little press release, a little blip on the radar, and then it's done and gone, right? And it's interesting to see how it's all going to pan out. And, and it allows other innovative individuals
It
to
really
say, hey, I
does.
want to step in this gap and try to be a little bit different and build something special here. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where technology is coming in also. The companies that are adopting technology and starting to use different types of innovative technology in their businesses, it's a really exciting time to be part of the industry.
For sure.
Where we live right now, how we're adopting AI into so many different things that we're doing, especially at Service Titan, the way we've been incorporating it into our product is really fantastic too. So it's fun to see all of the changes, and I love the whole idea behind your podcast. It's a mindset, really.
Right.
You can sit and look at this industry and say, this scarcity mindset of, oh my goodness, this is happening. Companies are being swallowed up by PE, or you can be like, we live
There's
in
an
a very
opportunity.
abundant
Yeah.
industry right now where the opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
So
Well, talking about opportunities, you obviously had opportunities in your career to step outside of your
Yes.
comfort zone
Yeah.
and jump on a stage and start presenting, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what was the mindset behind that? Were you nervous? Was it like I can't do this, or was it like a natural, like I was born for this, baby?
Well, when I was little, I talked a lot, which you would not know that about me. Normally, I'm a pretty introverted person. I force myself to be extroverted out at events and things like that. But I remember my husband said, "We need you to be the voice and face of our company." So this was back in the 2015 when we were really starting to explore with a lot of different types of marketing. And so I would go and be on the morning talk show of the local morning talk show and talk to moms about why cleaning your air was so important, and duct cleanings, and why getting a tune-up was so important, and a lot of things that I felt very uncomfortable doing. And I remember being in an interview and talking to one of the ladies interviewing me, and I couldn't think of what to say. My eyes were looking everywhere. I was so uncomfortable, like you can see it in the video. And I go back and look at that, and I remember watching it afterwards and just being so critical of myself, like,
Sure.
hold the eye focus. Where's your posture?
Yeah.
Smile. Don't be so nervous. Unclench the hands, like looking at all of the body language. And that was really part of what prompted me to go get some extra coaching on how to be a better speaker. My husband and I had been asked to speak at Comfort Tech back in the day when Comfort Tech was around.
Mm-hmm.
We really enjoyed that, but I knew that if I was going to do more of that, even with my education background, I wanted to get some additional training. So there were a lot of uncomfortable videos that I made. I made uncomfortable videos for my website, but the more you do it and the more you practice, it became, I want to say more comfortable, not really more comfortable, just
Easier.
easier.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So practice and preparation is really what helps you gain the confidence.
So I can imagine that your ability to go and be the face of your HVAC company in Utah as a woman, right? Super valuable.
Right.
And there's a lot of power behind that, because it's like coming up in an industry where it's just like, well, women don't own HVAC companies, right? And now here you are in this town in Utah, and now your face is on the news, you're on TV, you're probably on marketing materials, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, right? There's a lot of the women in the homes are the ones who make the decision on who they're going to hire anyway. And so it's like you just have an unfair advantage, if you will, right? So, I mean,
Maybe, yeah. I think it's a big advantage. I think at first when I would start going to like training conferences and things with my husband, I would be the only woman in the room. And there was a lot of times that I'm kind of had imposter syndrome. Like, do I even
For
belong
sure.
here? Is this the right place for me? I felt so out of place. But the more I went, people started to see that and value that. And I was able to attract female technicians, female salespeople on my team. And yes, especially women trust other women.
Yep.
And so that was kind of an advantage for us. And I had so many of my competitors trying to steal these female technicians and female salespeople from me. So that was a bit of a challenge. In fact, yeah, we talk about it being a disadvantage to be a woman in the trades, but it's not at all. It's definitely an advantage because
It's a mindset.
it's a mindset. We have so much to offer and bring. And
I think women have been taught that it's a disadvantage
Yes.
to be a woman in this industry, when reality is every woman I know in this business who's a salesperson absolutely murders it,
Yes.
right? Every woman I know who's a service technician absolutely murders it. And they don't realize that they have an almost unfair advantage, right? But they're afraid because it's a heavily dominated industry, because it's a male heavily dominated industry. And so I think that mindset shift has to happen, because a lot of men in this industry are just like, what are you even freaking doing here, right? Like, you don't belong here. You're not even strong enough to pick that up, right?
Yep.
It's the constant just like tearing you down, and finally you just go, man, I'm freaking done. Like, these guys are pigs, all they do is make these jokes every day about, whatever. And so it is sad.
the first female technician I hired, we had to overcome a lot of those obstacles because we had only male technicians for quite some time. And so the first female tech, they all pushed her buttons. They gave her the worst jobs.
Sure.
They really were so hard on her. And had she not already worked in some, heavily male-dominated industries like truck driving or bus driving or some of those other industries, like she was already kind of used to that. And she was really strong. And she was really a trailblazer in my company to pave the way, to open the door, to show other women that, hey, yes, you can come be successful here. So I was so grateful for her, and I'm grateful for those women that are the trailblazers and can put up with the crap that they get from their
Right.
male coworkers, because they're going to get it. We had another technician, female, come in and apply for a job, and she had beautiful hair and beautiful nails, and the service manager that was working for us at the time was like, okay, like, you're gonna have to get in crawl spaces, right? You're gonna have to touch spider webs and things like that. And she was like, yeah, like, let's do it. And so he took her on a ride along, and she was a boss. Like, she did so awesome. And I think the female, like, they have to work so hard to prove themselves.
Sure.
That their work quality is so much better. The tune-ups are so much higher. Like, the work quality, at least in my experience with the technicians I've had at my company, the women have had to work that much harder just to prove
Well,
themselves.
women also think differently, right? They think methodically. They think they're detail oriented. They're planners, right? Where men typically aren't, right? We're just very reactive, like, oh, I can fix that,
Yeah.
Oh man, this is happening. Let me get this real quick, right? So it's not that it's bad. It's just different,
It's just different.
And so what you have is you have a different approach to the same situation, right? Which may require the same remedy, but there's just a different avenue to get
Yes.
there, right? So it's not a bad thing, just different.
No. And I love having men on my team who support that and
Yeah.
cheer that on. It seems to be the men in my company are a lot more competitive. The women are there just to, like, do their job and try to prove themselves and show that they're up to par. But the men are so competitive sometimes that and as women coming into that, it's like, oh, I don't need to
Right.
be in this competition. I'm just here for my job.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have men who can support that and see that and help those women not feel as less than.
For sure. Yeah, and it boils down to character,
It does.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you're either a jerk or you're not.
Right.
That's
right.
putting it in nice words.
Yes. It really is.
I'm trying to be kind here. So, so going from your contracting company to now being involved with Service Titan heavily is predominantly what you're doing now, right?
Exactly.
So,
yes.
any plans to make any moves to acquire another company, to start another company, to shift out of Service Titan?
Well, my no, I love what I'm doing at Service Titan. Right now, it's very, very fun to be on the forefront of so much innovation, and to be able to take this innovation to contractors, to take it to my own company and start innovating and trying new things. I love what I'm doing there. I love being able to represent the contractor. I feel a lot of I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say a weight, but I feel a lot of responsibility when the product team comes to me and says, hey, we're thinking of changing this or shifting this. What do you think about this? What would be helpful? And, I want to be able to build a product that can serve
Sure.
the industry the best. And I think that's what I love so much about Service Titan. Our owners were raised in the trades. They built this product for their dads. And so it's awesome because the team that we're building, we do everything to help contractors. And as long as it kind of goes back to character and your values and what's the purpose, what's the cause. As long as Service Titan has a cause that I can stand behind,
Sure. That's super important.
So, and their whole focus is what can we do to make contractors super successful. So I'm happy to stand behind that.
I think purpose goes a long way, right? And it's hard to do anything if you don't have the purpose behind it, right? But then it's also hard to do anything if you don't have the time and the balance to be able to balance that out, right? And it seems as though like I'm assuming you have children.
I do.
Yeah. So how do you balance? Because you're everywhere in the industry, and so it's like, how do you balance all of that with your family life?
That is such a good question. For me, it goes back to what matters the most. And I'm glad you brought up family because to me, that is what matters the most. My whole career building our business, with 3 little kids at the time we bought the business. My son, when I bought the business, was just a little 1-year-old baby, and now he's one of my install techs. He's 19 and he's installing for us, and it's so fun to see that. So I've been really careful to try to manage my time, manage what's most important to me. I've had to say no to a lot of, I don't want to say I've had to say no, I've chosen to say no
For sure.
to some different industry opportunities, and I've chosen to say yes to some. And every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so it becomes like, what's most important at this point? My youngest daughter right now, she's 15, and she's in high school. She's playing volleyball, and for the last 2 years, I've helped coach her high school volleyball team. I've been an assistant coach. And it is one of those things that takes an extra 20 hours a week of practice and games. And at first, when they approached me about it, I thought I could never do that. I don't have 20 hours. But I thought, how can I not do it?
Yeah.
She's so excited to have me there. She's excited to have me part of this, and I'll never get a chance to do it.
That's right.
again.
It's a small window of time that you have.
If I say no to other things with my career right now, those opportunities will come back later, or different opportunities.
Yep.
Right now, that was the most important thing to say yes to. And so I've had so much fun being her coach and helping with the team. And, I think those opportunities will still come back. There's so many opportunities.
For sure.
But like you said, that window of time with your kids, you'll never get that back. That was kind of our philosophy in growing our business too. We grew our business a little bit slower than some of our competitors, but we were intentional about making family time so important. And I did not want to grow a business and be running a business that I couldn't keep up with while raising my family. So that was,
Well, those are really important choices to make, and I think really what it boils down to is that everything is a choice, right? How much you work is a choice. How much time you spend with your family is a choice. The decisions you make in business are a choice, right? How you conduct yourself is a choice. Whether you decide to get pissed off or not about something stupid is a choice, right? If somebody cuts you off in traffic and you want to get angry, that's a choice.
That's a choice.
Yeah. So everything boils down to a choice, and you either make good choices or you make not so good
And
choices,
sometimes
right?
you make bad choices.
Yeah.
And you learn from
And
them.
you should, right?
learn.
Yeah. If you're not learning from those bad choices, then what are you doing, right? So, but that all boils down to your character. It all boils down to your mindset, right? Do you want a growth type of mindset?
Right.
And those are you make mistakes, you learn from them, and you move on, right? The not growing mindset is I'm just going to keep making the same mistake over and over and over and stay in the same boat. And 20 years later, you figure it out and go, how did I stay here for so long? You know, so.
And it goes down to what are your values? What do you value the most? Because those values should guide your choices. So if you say family is my number one thing, then those choices should align
make
with
it your
that.
number one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and your actions should back that up, right? So you say it is the most important thing, but you don't spend time with your family, well, then it's probably not the most important thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, good point.
Well, as always, I appreciate you and what you bring to the industry and you as a human being. So thank you for spending time with us. And
So it's so my pleasure. I so admire what you guys are doing with the podcast, the magazine, the technical awards. You're making a big impact.
I appreciate
in the
that.
industry. So thank you for what you do. And
Thanks for
Appreciate
this opportunity.
Thank you.
Fun.
Thanks for having us. We'll see you guys next time.
This episode of Behind the Mindset is brought to you by We Supply Trades. For more info, visit wesupplytrades.com.